this meeting of the Board of Adjustment to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
John Moreland.
Here.
Owen Curley.
Here.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Here.
Jeff Trular.
Here.
Todd Smith.
Here.
Jennifer Williams.
Here.
Matt Metz.
Thank you. The Board of Adjustment meetings are quasi-judicial in nature. All decisions of the board will be based on competent, substantial evidence, including testimony provided in this meeting. Any person who is not an applicant or agent who wishes to speak will need to fill out a speaker's card located on the side table by the door and turn them into the clerk. Each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak on each item when we open the public hearing. Please refrain from speaking from the audience, and applause or cheering will not be allowed. Lastly, please silence your cell phones. Okay, moving on to approval of minutes. We have minutes from the November 21st meeting and the December 5th meeting. Is there a motion?
I move we approve both issues, both minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting minutes from November 21st and December 5th have been approved. Moving on to correspondence. Any correspondence outside of what is in our packets this week? Okay, hearing none. We have one case of old business this week. Can we please call the case of old business?
Board calls BOA 23-100119, property address 1382 Northeast Wind Drive. Motion to consider sections 34-338E1G for an east side, southeast, southwest, and north yard accessory structure setback of less than 5 feet in lieu of 5 feet minimum. 34-338E1E for lot coverage of 60% in lieu of 35% maximum. 34-338E1D for no garage or carport. 34-338E1C3 for a rear yard setback of 4 feet in lieu of 30 feet minimum. 34-373D driveway setback of 0 in lieu of 5 to allow for new pool addition and to address current nonconformities to an existing single-family dwelling.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak when we open the public hearing. Does any board member have ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
I've had none.
None.
None. And I've had none. Would the applicant or agent please come forward to be sworn in and give your testimony? Yes, you can stand there, speak into the microphone, and the clerk will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you out?
Yes, I do.
State your name and address, please.
Jordan Quick, it's 1382 East Wind Drive North, Jacksonville Beach, Florida 32250.
Thank you. Can you tell us the nature of the hardship at your property?
So I've had quite a few of them. This has been about a 3-month process at this point to get to currently where I'm at. I've had a lot of correspondence with them to try to get here. Basically, whenever I purchased the property, I was given a survey from the previous owner. That survey turned out to not be correct. Didn't find that out until after I purchased the home. That reduced the lot size by 16%-ish, which all came out of the backyard. So that section that he's pointing to there, I have a previous survey if you guys want to see that as well. But due to that piece being removed, I had made a design prior to purchasing the home to put a pool and have this patio structure remain there and without having any variances. Whenever that got removed, I then had to redesign the entire backyard to even fit everything back there with the smallest pool I could find possible. The entire intent for me buying the house was to have an outdoor kitchen and a pool that I could spend most of my time in because that's what I like to do. So that was the intent in buying the property, and then I found out shortly after that I could not do that. So that's the reason for the variances on all those setbacks back there. Additionally, I found out that many of the things that are on the current survey are not varianced now, so a lot of the stuff that's within those lot lines already don't have variances. So basically what I'm trying to do is come through the right means to get all of these things fixed and documented so that we no longer have any issues or outstanding problems with this. My neighbor behind me, so on the south side, she's been dealing with this for like 10 years now, so I'm trying to help her get all this taken care of. So I'm just really trying to button up everything, have a final design that I can provide to you guys, have it approved and documented, and move forward without having any issues moving forward for maybe a potential person that may purchase this down the road. So that's the intent of all of the backyard line setbacks and whatnot. In terms of the conversion of the garage into a living space, the purpose for that is I can't even fit my vehicle in that garage in the first place. So one way or another, I have to do something to that to even have it a usable garage anyways for me. So this is like a issue in terms of parking and whatnot. I can't even park my vehicle there, so I'm not sure what to do outside of make it a livable space for me anyways. So that's what I would like to do, because it would actually provide me with usable space. And since I'm doing all of the rest of these things, hopefully that I could just do all of these things and just get everything agreed upon now, so that I don't have any issues moving forward with anything that I would like to do.
Okay, so, can we go back to the prior slide? Or, yeah, that one. So this is what the property looks like now.
Now, yes.
So is any of the work that has been, or any, outdoor additions beyond the actual structure of the home, have you done
No,
anything?
I have not touched anything since I bought the house, because we're speaking with him, it's like, don't touch anything, this is a mess, we need to get this cleared up. So that's why I didn't touch anything or do anything, because none of this stuff is documented really, and it's all there, and it's on surveys. So I'm trying to get it all cleaned up.
And when did you purchase the home?
About 3 months ago, I think. I
Okay.
don't have the exact date on me.
How many parking spaces do you have in your existing driveway? How many cars?
Currently, there is 3. There is a parking space in front of the garage, there's a parking space beside that parking space, and then there's a parking space beside the house itself. That piece on the side runs all the way down the side of the house to a fence line, and there's a parking space there as well. So there's a lot of concrete there as well.
And, sorry, I'm going between this, you're not planning on removing any of that concrete?
I plan on removing the part that's next to the house and repositioning that to the back of the house.
Repositioning the lot coverage?
Yeah.
Percentage?
Because there's no way, it's already over now at like 61% or something like that, and I'm just trying to reduce that even further down, because I know that my allotment is like 30%, which is way over as well.
So after you remove some of the existing concrete, you'll have 2 parking spaces?
Yes, I'll still have a parking space on this side, the top right corner, and then right in front of where the garage currently is.
And you're converting the garage space to livable space?
Yes. Because basically the bedrooms right now in the house are like 10.5 by 10.5. I don't know if you've ever been in a 10.5 by 10.5 bedroom. That's basically big enough for like a double bed, and that's it. So they're not really very big bedrooms. So the intent of what that would be is there'd be 2 bedrooms that are like decent size for like a queen size bed or so. And then one would be an office and the other one would be a very, very small bedroom.
What would the final going by this plan, what would the final livable square footage be in the home?
I believe it's somewhere around 1650 or something like that.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
You mentioned your neighbors. I'm not sure, I'm trying to find the relevance of your comment about your neighbors having the same issue. I'm just trying to understand that comment you said earlier. South of you, going through the same issues. Not sure what that referenced.
Neighbors having the same issues about,
You mentioned that your neighbor to the rear has been dealing
Oh,
with a
she's
lot of
been-
issues and you're trying to help her out.
Yeah, so that survey that I got from the previous owner, this has happened to her multiple times now, where the owners of this property have gone to her and been like, I'm moving this fence line that's left to right down that triangle portion down there to try to get what they think is their yard back, but it's not their yard. It's her yard, and she purchased that, or something happened to that piece of property like 20 plus years ago. So every time a new person moves into that house, she has to fight this battle over and over and over
Okay,
again.
that's what I was trying to understand the relevance. So when you bought the house, the survey you had done was inaccurate.
Yes, and then I got my done, and it was also done incorrectly. So there's a whole nother thing going on there as well.
Being picked those.
So that's the reason why I did my own survey, is because that fence line runs east-west there, so it was like, why is this fence line here? There must be something more going on. So then we ordered another survey. They agreed with the survey that I got from the previous owner, and then I found out afterwards that there was an exception on my deed that says that there's a portion of the lot that's not included, which is that portion. So I don't get my deed until after I purchased the house, so I didn't have any clue that that was the case. So everyone missed it. Title company, everybody, the whole thing. This is like an unprecedented thing supposedly for everybody, but of course it happens to me. So that's the reason why that happened. I also found out that the previous owner knew that this was an issue, and she submitted a incorrect survey knowingly. So, plus.
The truck that's been parked outside your house, when I went by it, 3 weeks ago, and then went by it today, that's too tall and long to go to your garage?
Tall, long, and wide.
And wide, too?
Yeah, I can show you a picture. I took a picture.
Well, I've seen the picture, and I've been by there twice.
Yeah.
How wide is your garage? 8 feet? 8 feet garage door?
No, there's no way it's 8 feet.
Oh, I thought there's a code for minimum width of garage.
If it's a printed picture, that you want to share with us, you'll just have to submit it through the clerk, and
Okay.
we'll have to hold on to it for the record.
Okay. I just took a picture.
So everything, south of the actual, like, back wall of the home that we see on the proposed plan,
Mhm.
is that all outdoor kitchen, or would some of that be livable space?
No, none of it will be livable space.
And I don't see measurements, do you know what the dimensions would be of that outdoor kitchen space?
I have a full design done of it, which I did not bring with me, I do not believe. I don't have it on me, no. I believe it's something like 20 feet long, so from north-south 20 feet and like 12 feet wide, something along those lines, maybe 10 feet. I haven't got a full final design done yet because all of it, of course, depends on this hearing.
So, in looking at your request, I do see that there have been quite a few variances approved on the property previously that kind of cut into the usable yard space in the rear, and obviously that is, not your fault, but 20 by 12, are you able to come down on that at all, just so that we as a board might be able to consider a less intense request?
I have to redesign everything. Right now, the way that I have it is there's all of the, I guess what you would say is cabinetry runs down the left side with an island that's in the middle, that's right outside the rear door, that's kind of closer to the middle of the house. So I have to try to redesign everything, but possible. I mean, I've just been struggling with this thing for like 3 months now, trying to figure out how to fit everything back there with the loss of that additional space that comes out so far from that portion.
Yeah, and it's definitely, something that will factor into our considerations, that it's an oddly shaped lot size, the fact that that whole southeast corner is cut off, and, most yards would have a full corner. That is an understandable hardship, but it is your decision to design an outdoor kitchen and pool that are as large as they are.
Yes.
That's not necessarily like a necessity of you being able to live there.
Yes.
It's more, a desire, and obviously you have a right to develop some outdoor space, in your yard, but I just wonder if there's a way to do it at a less intense, usage of the property.
Yeah, my intent here is to ask for everything that I want. So I also know that there is a portion that you guys are gonna have the ability to come back and say, that's too much. I understand that completely, and I will design around that, but I'd rather ask for what I'm trying to design currently than a lesser portion than that. Another point of this matter is that portion that's attached to the house is actually not even 6 foot tall in many of the portions coming through there. So in my opinion, it's a safety hazard to be there.
I'm sorry, which portion are you
So
referring to?
that entire patio that comes off the back of the house that's kind of oddly shaped rectangularly
Mhm.
is not even 6 foot tall in many cases. I have another picture of this to kind of represent this.
So it's not just a paved patio space?
No.
There's like a
There's an
structure.
overhang over it, but much
Oh,
of it,
okay.
it's not even like tall enough for me, like I'll hit my head on that coming out, so I do not want that there
Okay, you
for
can
my own sake.
pass it through to the clerk and we'll all take a look at that. Thank you.
So that's another reason why I want to remove that portion, is because I would like to put something there that is safe for every human being to walk on, no matter how tall they are.
Your pool design's got it right up against the property line too. So just maybe talk to that neighbor that's,
Yeah, all the 3 neighbors that I have, Jeannie, which is on the south side of me, she's the one that's been helping me through this whole process of finding out that the previous owner knew about all of these things, which is not for this conversation, but it's for myself and moving forward with what happened to the property and the surveys. My neighbor to the right off this picture, he's Steph, she doesn't care. I've had a conversation with her. We talked about removing the fence so that I can get the pool in, because it'd be a fiberglass pool, which is why it's shaped the way that it is, and I was able to design it into that. And then Art on the other side of me, I spoke with him many times about it, and none of the things that I'm doing are interfering with that property line either. I'm actually removing a piece of, a piece that's like I'm not sure even what it's supposed to be off of that lot line, so it's not within 5 feet anymore. Which is that portion that's off of the porch there. I think they intended it to be like some kind of pizza oven, but it's got wood board on it. So again, safety hazard is another thing that I want to remove off of that piece.
Well, I was encouraged when you said that you were gonna remove some concrete, and then I got disappointed when I realized that that was gonna carry and put it down someplace else.
Yeah, my intent is to reduce that to as little as possible. So I am 100% staying below what the current percentage is that I have now, which I believe I provided in this was like 60-something percent. But, yeah, 60.982%. And I'm 100% staying below that. My intent is to try to cut off as much of that as I can in terms of the pool being put there. What I'm trying to do is get the pool close enough to the lot line so that I can only have a 1 foot like section around coping that goes around the pool on the back side, and then I extend it out a little bit further for egress, I guess, or walkable space around the pool. So the intent is to try to get that down as low as possible, because I know that that's a really big point that you guys need for drainage. So my intent is to try to pull as much of that out as I can, and a big portion of that step is removing that entire side of the house driveway. And then hopefully putting only a little portion of that back in the backyard area.
And part of the portion that you're removing, you said it goes all the way up to your fence line right there? Or the fence that looks like it leads into the backyard?
Yeah, it goes all the way up to that.
So now you'll be cutting it off like flush with
Yeah,
the
flush
front
with
of the house, and then you'll have grass.
Grass or gravel, I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Do you know, this might be more of a question for staff, but in the report, or maybe it was just in your testimony, there was like unpermitted work mentioned. Do you know, or, existing nonconformities, do you know how much of the existing, what's been done to the house was done without a variance or without permits?
I'm assuming pretty much everything that's in those, within those setbacks was not done without a variance, because there's the portion that's on the east side of the fence, the entire driveway is within inches of the lot line, so that, the driveway's within inches of the lot line, the concrete pad that's on the east side further south is within the lot line. That portion that's off of the patio is within the setback of the west side. So all those pieces are all within setbacks that I didn't see any variances on. The only one that I was aware of is the one that comes for the patio that goes off the back that has a variance on the setback of how far it can come back to the back of the house. But I'm not even sure how that was done because the lot wasn't even correct off the survey that I got anyway. So I'm just trying to fix all this stuff, so.
Yeah. And I see that the concrete pad that's on this survey in the sort of southeast area is not there on your new
Yeah.
proposed survey, but it does look like you've accounted for maybe the concrete where you need your pool pump, I guess. And
Yeah, so
so
basically
that's
that gets,
calculated into your,
yeah,
okay.
so that'll get removed, but there'll be something that goes in its place pretty much as the pool would be there, or in that same vicinity.
Will the paver, between the house and the pool, in that kind of center section there where it looks like you would maybe put like a table and chairs, is that gonna be pavers?
That's the intent right now, yeah.
Are they impervious? Do you know the percentage?
I do not know. I looked into the 50/50 ones to see whether that, like, what they even look like, because I've never even really seen them. So I have to do more research there, but if I can find one that looks good, then I'm more than happy to do that too.
Any other questions for the applicant?
At this time.
Okay. You can be seated for now, and I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards?
Yes, we have one. Tony Kamerick.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
Please state your name and address.
I'm Tony Pomerat. I live at 533 11th Avenue South, Jacksonville Beach. I think a few of you might know me from when they built duplexes in my area, especially in the 11th, 12th, 13th Avenue South area. They've been tearing down single-family homes and replacing them with duplexes. And what's very important to me is the lot coverage. Because when they take a 50-foot wide lot and turn it into a 20-foot or a 25-foot lot, there's not enough parking for the places. And in this neighborhood, when you look around, it's the same type of problem, even though they're single-family homes. What I'm concerned about is converting parking spaces in the garage where we store pool equipment, beach buggies, other things. You know, people need storage. So if you approve this, it's all about parking and lot coverage. And if you look at the applicant, he wants to say, hey, I bought this at 60% lot coverage. I'll go down 1% or 2%. Maybe I'll make it 3%. You know, and if you look at the survey that's on the city property appraisal website, what he's stating is not correct. This is very clear on the tax appraiser site about how the lots are cut. And that survey is correct. And then pay attention to the addition on the back. When I look at one survey versus the other, you know, and what's proposed, instead of being flush to the house, it's going across the lot line. You know, and then a substandard lot should not always be, you know, the variance approval. Because that's what I see in my area. It's substandard. And then the other thing I see in my area is they want to convert garages into bedrooms because they're investment properties. If you get more bedrooms in there, you can get more rent, more Airbnbs in there. And that's a problem. And if you approve this, which is further away from me, it's going to, you know, they can use that as a You know, hey, you did this over here. Oh, I could do it over here on these duplexes, especially on investment properties. Your vote is important, especially in my area. I request no amendments on this, no changes, up and down, just to prove it or disapprove it, just because it's asking too much. 2% less, only say it's, you know, if he wants to come back and say it's just the, how I purchased it, that would be fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers cards on this item?
We don't have any speakers cards, but we have an email from the gentleman who just spoke. And we have an email from Louis Maxim that's in our package.
Can you summarize the second email for us? A little long one.
Mr. Maxim is opposed to the conversion of the garage into living space and the setbacks.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item who has not filled out a speaker's card yet? And if so, please fill out a card before you leave. Okay. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. You're welcome to address any of the statements made during public comment.
Yeah, the first one he said about surveys not being correct, I paid experts for them to do that. They sign and stamp that. That's against the license, and like that's what they do for a living. So I understand what he's saying about this being correct on a website somewhere, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to trust a website that people could have made errors. I'm going to trust two expert opinions on surveys that I, one, received from the previous owner, and two, that I personally did myself. So that is one thing. The other thing about the garage conversion, I'm not completely converting it to a non-storage space. I basically said what I'm doing is making it a bedroom that's actually usable and taking a bedroom that's not really usable, and that would then again be a small bedroom or storage space. So the intent is not to gain additional like occupants or sleeping spaces or whatever. It's to just convert an unusable size 10 by 10 bedroom into a usable bedroom that someone will not feel cramped in. I mean, if like you're an elderly person, you can't get through. If I have my grandmother come and stay in a 10.5 by 10.5 bedroom, she's not gonna be able to walk around the bed. Sorry, it's just not happening. If you're in a wheelchair, yeah, good luck there either. So the intent is to make it a usable bedroom and convert a room that is not usable, that is currently considered a bedroom, into storage space or some really small bedroom that would never be intended for that. So those are the 2 points that I have to make there. And again, the garage, I can't fit my car in it, so to me, it's not really a consideration of parking spaces because it's not one now, so.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant before we move back to board discussion? Okay, hearing none, you can be seated, and I will bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 23-100119 based on the testimony and evidence provided. The request has met all the standards for variance as outlined in section 34-286 of the Land Development Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I struggle supporting the removal of a garage. I wonder what,
Thank you.
the applicant did buy the house knowing all this information. Wasn't something he was unaware of. Struggling with the garage issue. It's just a lot to put on a small lot.
I don't have as much of a problem with the garage issue because it's, you know, as we can see in the photo, it's not being used for parking now. It looks like more of a golf cart size garage, but I have an issue with the size of the proposed outdoor living space. I understand that, you know, he inherited the property with these pre-existing variances and, you know, other work being done on it, and I think it's reasonable for a substandard lot to request a variance for, to develop your outdoor space, but I don't think this is the minimum. I don't think we're meeting criteria, criteria 5. The grant of variance is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the parcel. But the applicant did say that this was kind of his, you know, asking as much as he could get in making the variance request. I think I would be more open to approving something at a lesser intensity, just so that he is able to somewhat develop the yard, but I just think this is a little more than what's necessary for the minimum use.
I don't think that we have to really grant a variance on the garage issue. He's already taken the garage and converted it to living space. You know, we don't really have to have a say on that. That he, you know, whether we approve that or not, he could use that as living space. And whoever buys it next would use it as a garage. I don't support the conversion, which basically is our approval of removing a garage in that space. For the lot coverage, I am conflicted with the questions that we were recently posed with, which is if we reduce the lot coverage, what are we basing that decision on? And I'm sorry that Matt is not here to ask that question that he always asks. But if we reduce it, what are we reducing it to and for? I appreciate the fact that he purchased this and it's full of issues that need variances.
I should mention really quick, sorry not to cut you off, but I know his request is for 60%, and that's what's officially in the request, but in the staff analysis, it's the current lot coverage is right around 61%, with his proposal actually calculating at 58.66%. I know that's not a huge difference, but
Is it a difference?
it's,
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
yeah. But I think everything else that you said is still, well, something that we need to consider.
So I struggle with this. The 58% does make sense. But the removing the garage, I cannot support.
John, have you done your daily calculus for us?
Actually, I did not.
Okay. Does anybody want to math out for me what the, actually, what is a standard size lot? Is it 6,000? And we're at about 4,500 at this, 44. So if it were a 6,000 square foot lot,
Because right now it's at 45, 4,445 square feet. The minimum is 6,000.
it is, I would say, pretty significantly substandard, but I don't know that that automatically forces our hand to approve what he's asked for. I'm completely, you know, understanding of him wanting to put in outdoor living space, even put in a pool. I just don't think that this is the minimum that could be done at this property.
Yeah, I think it's just a real case of either self-created because he wants to put a lot of stuff in it, or that he inherited when he lost the property and is in some ways a victim of the previous owner, and inaccurate surveys. But I still think that he can get reasonable use out of his property with significantly less variances, and intensity of the variances is what bothers me, and where they are out in the backyard too.
Any further discussion?
I'm stuck then on what is the appropriate percentage of lot coverage?
60 is a lot.
60 is a lot, and so is 58%. But, you know, I think that part of the applicant's process is to demonstrate a need. And if we're struggling with the appropriate lot coverage, then I would submit to the board that perhaps the applicant didn't meet his word.
Did not meet his word.
That's right.
I agree.
Yeah, I would be inclined to reject the motion and to leave it his responsibility to make reasonable changes and to come back with, something not for us to do, but dirty work for him.
Agree 100%.
I just want to.
It's fine, interesting looking at all these approvals through the years 87, 92, and 97, there's no conversation of any lot coverage. We should look at the size of the house, it wasn't even 35%. It's built bigger than 35% of its physical building. So,
Well, the first variance on the books had to have been
when house was built,
prior to, okay, so,
yeah, okay. But again,
was it built before the land development code?
this is 92. Just, as I said, I'm struggling trying to prove this.
I call a question.
Okay. No further discussion? All right, can we have a roll call vote, please?
We have clarity on how we're responding.
So the motion.
Well, I know motion is how we respond. A yes is, a no is.
Well, the motion on the floor is to approve. So if you want to approve the motion,
Yes.
then you would say yes. If you want to approve the variance, I'm sorry, then you would say yes. If you want to deny the variance, then you would respond no in the roll call.
John Wallach,
No.
Owen Curley,
No.
Jeff Trular,
No.
Todd Smith,
No.
Alexi Gonzalez.
No. Your variance has been declined. Can we call the first case of new business, please?
Board calls BOA 23-100120. Property address 700 South 9th Street. Motion to consider sections 34-373A1 for 3 compact spaces in lieu of standard off-street space dimensions. Sections 34-373B for a parking aisle of less than 23 feet for 93 parking. Sections 34-373C for back-out parking for commercial use in lieu of internal turning and maneuvering. Sections 34-377 for 6 off-street parking on-site spaces in lieu of 12 required off-street parking spaces on-site, and 34-425 for no landscaping in lieu of all required landscaping for the creation of a coffee shop in conjunction with an existing motorcycle repair facility.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak when we open the public hearing. Does any board member have ex parte communication on this item?
I have none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
None.
None. And I've had none. Would the applicant or agent please come forward to be sworn in and give your testimony?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Nicholas Notaro, 700 9th Street South, Jacksonville, Beach, Florida, 32250.
Thank you. Can you tell us the nature of the hardship at your property?
Right now, my hardship is just parking. The building, when I purchased it, it didn't really have any parking. It's pretty much a cement driveway. I'm really looking to put the little coffee shop in and be able to basically have my clients, which I'm not really trying to bring people from Mandarin or people really driving cars to the facilities, my customers, and then the facilities that are around it. That area has been growing. A lot of businesses have been going in and basically cater to the people around and the neighborhood that's across the street.
Is the coffee shop an approved usage of that property?
It is.
It was approved, used by, TC.
Just so I understand, that diagram, where's the coffee shop? I'm trying to understand how it plays out. Is it
It's the furthest north.
Yeah, there's 4 bays. It would be on that setback bay right on the end.
where the pink highlight is?
It's
I don't know if it's pink,
the
but
far north. I actually wrote coffee, kind of right
yeah.
there.
Yeah, if I find the right diagram, it's all.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll get the diagram, find it.
Nick, on those, that area where it's swiveled over,
Yes.
isn't that parking right there?
They asked me to show me kind of where I could put parking.
Yeah.
And that's pretty
It's
much
like a
kind of,
dirt or
I mean,
grass
it's
lot.
all cement. The whole lot's cement. So, I mean, there are places to put parking. And then, you know, the city also just put brand new parking along the streets, which, you know, I mean, when people would visit that aren't already there, I mean, no one's parked there until 9 o'clock, when, you know, businesses start coming, and then even at 5 o'clock, nobody was parked there, everyone went home already. So, I've never really had a parking issue.
When I was reading through the materials, it sounded like you were going to have 9 parking spots altogether, some of them being compact, and I think, what was it, 12 that would be required?
I mean, I'm seeing 8 right there from what I could
Okay.
fit, yeah, and truthfully, I'd like to
It's
just,
9, I
okay, sorry.
No, if it's 8, it's 8.
Yeah, I'd like to turn some of them kind of into little motorcycle spots for people. So I have a lot of customers that come up there on a daily basis, and truthfully, because of the beach, a lot of them are on their Vespas and scooters, and, you know, really just come up and say hi. I mean, half my day is talking to people sometimes just because it's Saturday.
So with the development in that area, have you noticed a decrease in the availability of on-street parking?
Not really, because you guys, I never had really any on-street parking before. And now the city has put in, not only on that street, but pretty much every street in that block, all down 10th Street. And, you know, I mean, even the last hearing, the company next to me, one of the owners actually came and told me how excited his whole staff was excited about having the coffee shop. And that's a brand new company. They're all online shopping, and I think they have like 50 employees. And they have plenty of parking in their parking lot.
How many employees between, you know, the multiple businesses that would be on the property, how many employees do you estimate every day will be on the property parking?
That I have, to be honest, I wouldn't know yet. Right now, I really don't have any employees. I have a couple old guys at 1099 and come help me whenever they want, whenever they can. And then as far as the coffee shop, I don't know yet. You know, I'd really kind of feeling it out a little bit. And, I mean, I'd maybe start with one and probably be me. And then I may start with hours just from, you know, 6 a.m. to 9, and then I would move into the motorcycle shop and then open back up from 4 to, you know, 7, something to that effect, just to kind of feel things out and kind of go from there. I mean, essentially, I have the space, I have the whole building, and I'm just trying to utilize it and diversify a little bit. And then, you know, motorcycles and coffee are kind of a thing. So, you know, there are other shops throughout the country that kind of do both the things, so.
Yeah, I mean, the request doesn't seem unreasonable based on what you're describing to us, you know, your kind of business model. I just don't want to have us factor in, you know, 8 or 9 spots, but then like half of those end up being taken every day by your employees that are coming every day, so.
It's currently only the motorcycle shop, because I've been there a few times, at different times of the day. And you know, you drop your bike off, no one ever parks there. There's never anybody parked there, I will say that.
Because they're dropping it off and then.
Yeah, like I'll drop mine off, and have a ride pick me up, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Lots of Uber drivers.
There's a lot of concrete there, and you could park there, but no one's ever parked there.
I would echo that same comment. I drive past there several times a day, and every time I go by, I'm always amazed that there's no parking. So, but I mean, there's plenty of parking available. So really,
No one's there.
except that really cool old car.
room itself's about 1,000 square feet, but it'd be about 500 square feet of seating after the bathrooms and everything.
So now, developing it into a restaurant, is there any requirements to the staff that we now have to have an enclosed garbage container? We're not taking into effect, or anything exterior we have to add to a restaurant?
Not to my knowledge.
I just want to make sure you don't pick up.
Right. The only thing I do know is a grease trap, which would.
We should have required, yeah, that's still a parking spot.
Right.
And you're not paving any existing, like landscape area,
No.
right? It's, everything's gonna stay as it is, you're just reconfiguring,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. If anything, I'd like to put some potted plants and things like that and try and kind of keep up with the neighborhood.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. You can be seated for now, and I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards?
No speakers cards and no correspondence.
Is there anyone in the audience who has not filled out a speaker's card that wishes to speak on this item? And if so, please fill out a speaker's card before you leave. Okay. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 23-100120 based on the testimony and evidence provided. The request has met all the standards for a variance as outlined in section 34-286 of the Land Development Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I like the concept, I just sometimes look at this, are we just making an exception because part of area it's in? Because we wouldn't approve this anywhere else, pretty much. So, this was on 3rd Street, right, we wouldn't approve parking issues. It's because of that off-street parking.
Well, I would also argue it kind of harkens back to that request we had in the past for like the doggy daycare type place where they were being, the standard by which they were being judged was for like a vet's office or something, when really it was more of like a drive up, drop off and leave model. And so it didn't necessitate the number of parking spaces as a vet's office where you're coming, parking, staying for a while. And so if this is the kind of place where, you know, like Todd mentioned, you come and drop off your bike, have somebody drive you home until it's time to come pick it up, then it is kind of a special use case where the facility doesn't need, like the repair facility doesn't really need parking aside from the one employee, and so then having anything else is for the coffee shop.
And just as, the parking was designed with the 500 square foot capacity seating plus the use purpose of the shop, correct? Parking stands.
Yes, in order for the shop to open up, it needs parking, so that's why he's asking for the parking.
Okay, so again, 500 square foot's sizable coffee shop.
Does it need to be limited to its current use?
I think that would be an appropriate, condition
Yes.
to add to this. Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, please.
I move to amend the prior motion so that the variance is limited to parking conditions based on the use of the building as a coffee shop and motorcycle repair facility.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the previous motion with that condition. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, can we have a roll call, please, on the amended motion?
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Jeff Trular,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. Okay, so the amendment, the motion has been amended as conditioned. Is there any further discussion on the motion as amended? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Jeff Trular,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. Your request has been approved with the condition that the use is tied to motorcycle shop and coffee shop. Can we call the next case, please?
Board calls BOA 23-100121, property address 6 Hobson Road. Motion to consider Sections 34-336 E1E for lot coverage of 45% in lieu of 35% maximum to allow for replacement of existing gravel driveway or a new paver driveway to an existing single-family dwelling.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak when we open the public hearing. Does any board member have ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
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 And I've had none. Would the applicant or agent please be sworn in to give your testimony?
David Caldwell.
Please raise your right hand. State your name and address.
David Caldwell, 6 Hobson Road, Jacksonville Beach, Florida, 32250.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. I think my wife here and I, we built our house about 3 years ago to kind of be our forever home here in Jacksonville Beach. And through no fault of anybody's but my own, we built it, and the variance came right to 35%, which was the legal limit. The builder kind of overshadowed the driveway, and they decided to put in a gravel driveway. Since then, it was fine for about 1.5 years, and it's become a little bit problematic since then. The biggest issue for us is a safety issue. Her parents have moved in an area. Her dad is experiencing some health issues, and it's had spinal surgery, a little bit uneasy, and it's difficult to maneuver for elderly people and for anybody with deliveries. And we've had deliveries to our house that have been denied because they can't get anything wheeled up and back to the driveway. So that was a major issue. The other issues we've experienced with this, just it's kind of counterproductive with the drainage. A lot of the hard rocks have punctured our drainage pipes below through rain. And we've had to have those replaced twice, and they get clogged because of the holes in it, and then it starts to bubble up from the surface, causing standing water. Is the biggest thing with the drainage. And then just in talking with our neighbors, just with our home, what that neighborhood has developed and appreciated over the last 3 years, actually, since we bought the house, to have a driveway that's actually commiserates with a home value that we're paying the taxes on. And then just overall, just the necessity of living there as we get older too, and seeing what her parents are going through, trying to navigate that driveway. That is our forever home, and we hope to be there for another 40, 50 years. But in lieu of just putting concrete down, we said pavers would be semi-permeable pavers, trying to mitigate the amount of lot allowance.
So I'm sorry if I missed this in the staff report. Are the pavers that you're using made of the materials that the city approves at the 50%?
They're, I believe they're just standard pavers.
Okay.
Is your receptive to using semi-permanent papers?
I would be, yes.
Ask the city about it.
Just a question through the staff. I thought when somebody builds a new build and they put a gravel driveway, it had to have a requirement for
So there was
approval
no
for that
previous
history.
variance on this property?
No, there's no previous variance. I believe they built it with gravel to meet 35% because of the size of the house.
But usually in order to have that approved, they have to get a variance to have a gravel driveway in lieu of a paved driveway.
No, there was no previous variance.
So, and I don't know if this, but I was told that the previous builder in the neighborhood was gonna use gravel driveway, and he got a variance because they didn't like the way it looked in the neighborhood. And if any of you have been through our neighborhood, we're like the focal point of the street. When you come in, we're the first house you see. It's a beautiful house, we love it.
Yours is not really gravel though, is it? It's more stone?
It's a thick stone, yes. It's a thicker stone.
Can we go, sorry, can we go to the aerial photo of the, yeah. So, it's hard to see up there, but there's kind of like a curved, looks like a J if you turn your head that way, that's like outlined by white, and then there's gray on either side of it. Are you seeing that? It's easier to see on my computer, sorry. I'm just wondering how much of that gray that I'm seeing is stone in the front of the home.
So we did submit a picture of the current home.
You included a photo from the front.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, that didn't make it into our report, I don't think, but
And I could pull one up on my phone if maybe, I believe.
is there anything paved in the front area with the driveway, or is it all
The only
stone
thing that I think there were, by code, had to be two, like, maybe
strips?
strips leading into our one-car garage, which creates an issue in itself because of those creates unevenness with the stone, especially pulling cars in and out, the stones move, and it creates a waviness, which is hard for people to navigate walking up and down the driveway. And it causes, as I've almost a couple times almost sprained my ankle on that too, but. And I'm talking with the neighbors on both sides and in the neighborhood, they would be obviously for it because of the aesthetics of it. That's not important to you guys.
I have a question for you. You have a conforming lot, and we have these 6 standards that we have to adhere to when granting a variance. Unfortunately, health concerns do not appear on these,
Okay.
so that's something that we can't consider. But there is the special conditions and circumstances that are peculiar to this piece of land. So for instance, if you have a smaller non-conforming lot, that's pretty easy. Here, you have a conforming lot. Can you help me identify the special circumstance that would permit us to grant your variance request?
Is there anything that has been approved that you could apply to in the past in the area? That, because there are some homes that.
There are no precedents.
There is no precedents, no. Just the.
I mean, there's no precedence in the fact that our prior decisions of this board do not have precedence over future decisions.
Gotcha. Just the ADA Act is not one of them, and everyone else.
It's not on our list for
I
variances.
got you.
Can you tell us about parking in the area? Like the type of road it is there a lot of on-street parking?
There is not. Most families have enough room in their driveway unless there's a party or something. We get very little traction through the neighborhood. It's a dead-end neighborhood, so there's no through access. There's only about maybe 12 homes on our side of the street.
I mean, it sounds as though that we're dealing with an issue of unintended consequences.
Yes, sir.
That you started with a standard size lot or standard size footprint on a standard size lot.
Yeah. And for me, and to be honest with you, I didn't do enough research in the beginning of it, and at the end of the day, trust me, I don't want to have to spend the extra money to put new pavers down, but it's become a necessity for her parents to be able to spend time with us and for people to access the house, and I look forward to, like I said, 40 years from now to be able to do that myself, so.
I see that there's a pool and paver or patio area in the rear of the home. Are there any, is the home, aside from this driveway issue, is the property developed as much as you foresee developing it?
Yeah, we built this home and we maxed it out, probably too much to be honest with you, but we don't foresee building or doing anything extra to the home. That's perfect as you can.
Is that a 2-car garage?
There's 2 cars on one side and 1 car on the other
You
side.
actually use the garage for the parking?
We use the garage, the 2-car garages we use for parking, yes.
Any additional questions for the applicant?
I've done.
Okay. Hearing none, you can be seated for now.
Thank you
Any
very
other-
much.
Thank you, and I will now open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards?
No speakers cards, and no correspondence.
Is there anyone in the audience who has not filled out a speaker's card that wishes to speak on this item? And if so, please fill out a card before you leave. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 23-100121 based on testimony and evidence provided. The request has met the standards for variance as outlined in section 34-286 Land Development Code.
What is the percent lot coverage?
Current,
Current.
35.
What's the
What
request?
is the lot size? I'm sorry. I misspoke.
17,000.
Okay, before we get into questions, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
17,000 square foot lot. Big lot.
That's tough.
I'm just trying to find hardship.
I struggle to find a hardship in this case, as my question was to the applicant. Unfortunately, we can't consider the health issues, as we know and have been faced with, but I would welcome a hardship, but I can't seem to find it.
I think the applicant has the opportunity to reconfigure with using less permeable solution bed.
That's correct.
There's a strategy.
Part of me, the fact that they didn't have a variance to use a gravel driveway in lieu of pavers, I wonder if that kind of creates like a superseding situation, because the city
I think
would
the
have
ribbon
had to
strips,
go,
he contacted and looked at the ribbon strips may cover that. If it wasn't, the ribbon strips probably
okay,
covers that question you and I asked.
okay.
Let's see.
I see that there doesn't constitute a hardship, given that this is actually an oversized lot. But I'm inclined to approve just because for the, minimum use of the home, I think it's already used as parking. Typically, when we see a request for gravel, it's, I don't know, I just think that in order
Purpose
to.
is not changing, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I still feel that they come back with a less permeable solution, I would probably be more
Yeah,
pleased with that.
I'd be more apt to
Yeah.
look at it if it had the different pavers,
Yeah,
without some drainage
Yeah.
through there.
they're not like adding a garage or adding a shed to it, it's a driveway to a driveway. I think we're-
I think we're still struggling with we don't have a tiny lot where they're trying to put minimal things on it. We have a oversized lot that we're looking for a hardship. But I can't seem to find it. I want him to have his driveway. I simply can't find the special conditions or circumstances.
I agree with you. And if it was 10,000, 50 feet, or something like that, I might be able to kind of justify my mind doing it, but with 17,000 feet, that's a big lot. And they may have the option also, I think, to look in the backyard.
The backyard is not, there's still a ton of green space on the property.
Yeah.
Did you have any additional comments?
Yeah, we do have a lot of green space on the property. And as far as, a lot of the driveway's already paved. There's a pad in front of the third car garage that's paved. There's a pad in the front of it. It's just the remaining part of the driveway that has not been paved, which is causing the issues for access to the house. But there is a ton of green space in the backyard. We didn't build around the pool at all. It's very minimal, actually, kind of like a Cape Cod look, with the idea of staying within that. We haven't done any additions since then either.
And the paved area in front of the garage, that was calculated in your
That was
original
calculated
35%?
originally, yes.
Okay.
And then there's also a lot that's an acre and a half across the street from us that I guess you can't build on either, that we looked into maybe purchasing with our neighbor to put a little community pad with them there. And but that's always going to remain permeable.
As we're considering your request, and as Mr. Curley mentioned, in our kind of traditional sense, we're struggling to see where your kind of textbook hardship is. You said you would be open to using permeable materials.
Sure.
Is there a lesser percentage that you could complete your project with?
Well, I don't know how they calculate that. I know that there's specific pavers that are called permeable pavers where.
The city has certain approved materials, and you would have to work with somebody in their department, but there are certain materials that they will allow a credit up to 50%.
Right.
So say you put down 1,000 square feet of pavers, if you use the most permeable material that the city allows, it would only count for 500 square feet.
Sure, yeah. I mean, for us, it's becoming just a functionality of living in a home and a necessity, which we talked about earlier, living in a home. Otherwise, chances are we're gonna have to not live in a home. So,
Would you want to work with the city? I mean, we could move to postpone it, or
yeah, I mean, I guess we would just have to have the person doing the work, whoever you have contact with that, do that.
Because if your request is denied this evening, you'll have to kind of start the process anew.
Sure.
And I believe there's a time,
Does it cost us $500 again?
I think there's a cost, and you can't do it for
Yeah.
another 6 months. I think you can't reapply for 6 months.
Within a year, you can ask for the same
Year.
request.
So we can't, so if we do that, then that's gonna be another 6 months.
A year.
If you're denied this evening, you would have to wait a year to come back with the same
Yeah.
Same request, we can come back with a 25% variance.
Yes, with a 25% decrease.
decrease.
or we could postpone.
Or we can defer it for another night.
I'll take your guidance on the best way to get it done.
Pardon?
I'll take your guidance on the best way to get it done as soon as we can get it done for
Well,
safety. of
it's,
everyone.
unfortunately, we're not allowed to provide that guidance, but if you are open to working with staff, to potentially alter your request to a less intensive, use of the property, we can vote to defer our decision to
Okay, and then
a
I
future meeting.
can get that done before 6 months?
Yes, that would just be
Okay.
what, the
You
next
got-
meeting, that,
Okay,
the next meeting?
Yes, next meeting.
yes. All right. So
Just
that's-
for estimations, it would,
January?
it would bring to us 40%, I was looking at 1,785 square feet he's adding, take that in half, so it's 40%.
Yeah.
And still
Um,
large.
So our next scheduled meeting is January 2nd.
Okay,
And then the next meeting after that is January 16th.
17.
17th, sorry, because of the holiday. I would imagine, based on holidays, that it might be hard to meet with staff and get back on the schedule by January 2nd.
It all depends on how long it'll take him to get on the survey done, to show us, the
and then,
calculations.
who would I contact with the city to organize the approved materials?
Can you meet with anybody in your
Yeah, he can
office
move me a
about-
Christian.
about the approved materials?
Then they can determine what business schedule.
So, but usually if we vote to defer, we have to pick
For
a,
every day.
yeah.
I think the 17th would probably be fair to everybody. Like this is, like, I don't want to ruin anybody's Christmas.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, Saturday sounds good. We could probably meet next week on Wednesday to talk about the approved materials.
Okay. Awesome.
All
Great.
right.
Thank you.
So we will defer decision on this until the January 17th meeting.
And then if you have, do you have the pictures?
No motion.
Yeah, I have the pictures, but then we make it to the.
If you show-
Okay,
Yes,
so-
pass it down.
If you can take a look at the current house and the picture.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I got deleted
No,
from
that's
the
okay.
uploading.
yeah, that's fine.
Can I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah,
That's
this is
more
the one
delay,
on,
because the chair's bigger than the
maps.
Okay, so I see the part that, can you see Jennifer? All right, so the
Awesome.
motion on the floor, thank you.
Thank you.
The motion on the floor is to approve the original request. Is there a motion to amend that?
I move to amend to postpone BOA 23-100121 until the January 17th, 2024 board meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please, on the amendment?
Jeff Trular,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yeah.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. Okay, the amendment has been approved, so the current motion on the floor is to defer our decision on this case until the January 17th meeting. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Jeff Trular,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. So we will defer a decision on this case until the January 17th meeting. Thank you. Can we call the final case, please?
Board calls BOA 23-100123, property address 118 North 10th Avenue. Motion to consider sections 34-340E1E for lot coverage of 80% in lieu of 35% maximum for expansion of existing pool perimeter paver patio around home, small paver pad and concrete pad adjacent to existing pool equipment pad, and 34-340E1G for accessory side and rear yard setbacks of 1 foot in lieu of 5 foot minimum.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak when we open the public hearing. Does any board member have ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
None.
And I've had none. Would the applicant or agent please come forward to be sworn in and give your testimony?
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Michael Dillon, U.S. Air Force retired. This is my co-owner and fiance, Ms. Lisa Lau. She's going to speak to our case.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address.
Lisa Loud, 118 10th Avenue North, Jacks Beach, 32250.
Thank you. Can you tell us the nature of the hardship at your property?
Yes, and thanks for the opportunity to explain our situation. So a couple of things. First is we bought this property early September. We moved forward with some of this work, not realizing we needed to go through this process. So admittedly, we made a misstep there. We take accountability for that. The main goal of what we were trying to do is remedy a safety situation. But before I come to the pavers, just a few clarifications. One is the setback was already non-conforming. I put that in our application, but in reality, it didn't exist when we bought the house. The other is similar to the first gentleman, and I shared some of this in the documentation. The survey we got was not accurate, so we didn't realize that until we had this issue come up, and it came up, and I looked at the pavers and realized it didn't reflect what was there. So I'm assuming the previous owners, when they got the pool approved, I don't know what they got approved in terms of pavers, but it was not reflected in the survey. So I tried to address that when I submitted the paperwork in terms of what we inherited. Said another way, it was already non-conforming when we bought the property. The last thing, clarification is I don't know where the concrete pad came from. We did not install a concrete pad, nor do we intend to. So just to be clear on that, we're not asking for a concrete pad. So in terms of the lot and the pavers, as you are probably aware from the write-up, it is a very small lot, 35 by 89. The variances on the property prior to us owning the house were first with the builder and getting it subdivided, and then with the previous owners, the city approved a pool. And so I think the hardship here is not only is this a very small non-conforming lot, but it has a pool approved in addition to it. We love the pool, don't get me wrong, but the challenge is with that lot size, there's not a lot of area around the pool. And that's part of what we were trying to remedy with the pavers. I don't know if you guys have access to the pictures I submitted, but prior to where we added pavers, and we really didn't add a ton of pavers, we added some pavers along a palm tree on the left side of the pool when you're facing the pool because there was no real clear walkway. There's a very narrow area between the palm tree and the pool that is also slanted, and we had some real concerns about people being able to navigate around the pool. And there was a similar situation with a palm tree on the right-hand side. So where there was some landscaping, and it was kind of a little pocket of landscaping, again, the setback wasn't there. We added in some pavers to create a walkable area. The other concern we had, maybe not quite as serious as the walkway area, was that there were a whole bunch of rocks around the pool. We were concerned about having rocks and rocks ending up in the pool and that type of thing. But the bigger issue was being able to navigate around the pool. So that was our intention of putting the pavers in. I'm not sure, so I guess 2 points. One is we weren't starting at 35%. I don't know exactly what percent we were at. I don't know where the 80 came from. That may or may not be accurate, but we have a pool. We have where the pool equipment is all rock. That's not paved. The whole side of the house is rock, and then we have an area in the front that's grass. So that, I guess that could be 80%, but my understanding is the pool doesn't count as coverage. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. I'm not sure it truly is 80%, but I think the bigger point is we're not starting from 35 and asking for a variance from there. We already were non-conforming. And then the last thing I'll say in terms of the criteria, so 2 issues, I think out of the 6, there were 2 that came back as kind of not meeting the criteria. One is that we're getting special privileges, and I think given the lot size, and there's a house that's adjacent to us, specifically it's on First Street, where it has almost 100% coverage in the back and large coverage in the front. I'm not suggesting we're asking for that, but it has been approved apparently for someone else. And then I think in terms of the hardship criteria, that stating that we haven't met that criteria, I think just the nature of the size of the lot, the fact that the city approved a pool there, and I think we have a legitimate safety issue without the pavers there, does create a hardship.
So the pavers are all installed, I understand?
Yes.
Can you, because I see blue X's and what looks like orange X's, is there a difference?
Yeah, so the blue was already there, so that's what I drew in. That was not correct on the survey.
Okay.
I'm sorry, let me say that the other way. The orange is what was already there. And then the blue is where we added in, so you can see, this is my not wonderful drawing, but those little circles where it says palm trees, see how I put blue X's behind it? That's to create that walkable area. And the same thing over on the other palm tree. And then by the pool, or I'm sorry, by the pool equipment, where it says PE there, that rectangle, that's pool equipment, that was rock there. So again, you could navigate your way around it, but you're walking through rocks to get around the pool.
So in this drawing, to the left of the pool, there are orange X's.
That was pre-existing pavers when we bought the house.
Okay, and in the existing survey, it would lead us to
It doesn't show
believe
it
that
there.
it doesn't
The
go
only
beyond
way
that.
where, if you see that line around the pool, that kind of has that little, that was reflecting where there were pavers in the survey. Where the orange is in actuality where there are pavers.
Is there any work that it remains to be done based
No.
on this request? If everything that you're asking for has already been done?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, our intention was not to sidestep the process, we just should have been better informed, so we apologize for that.
So if you don't think that your lot coverage is 80%, what percentage is it that you're asking?
I don't know. Again, you have the front area, but part of that's the city, right? So we have 10 feet in the front, which has driveway, but it also has stone and grass. The whole side of where that AC unit is, all the way up to the gate, that's all stone. And then that whole area, we actually kind of blocked in the pool equipment a little bit for another safety issue. That's all stone as well. So, and then you have the pool. In any case, it's still in excess of 35%, whichever way you look at it, but I don't know what we started at is kind of my point.
The lot is currently approved for 42%, and then 8% additional for the paving around the pool. So technically 50, but they were given the 8% specifically to put the paving around the pool.
So was it 50 before they did anything?
It was at 35, but then they asked for 42 and then 8% additional. It was worded differently back then.
But I don't know that we know what they started with because I think some of the pavers were put in outside of what the variance asked for.
You really need to have the calcs for the coverage, so we can see it on your plan.
But 80% by your estimates of the work that's been done, you are at 80% now. You just don't know what you were at before you started the work.
I think that's probably correct.
Okay.
So basically, on what you got there, the whole backyard and part of the side yard is paver, is that correct?
With the exception of, along the side of the house where the AC is, that is not pavered.
Right.
Although there are,
Right.
yeah, and then around kind of that whole, I wouldn't say it's 25%, but, where the pool equipment is, that whole back corner is all stone.
Is that pervious stone or impervious stone? Like when you're saying stone, do you mean gravel stone?
Yeah,
or what do you
sorry,
mean?
yeah, like
it's
large
really-
gravel,
okay.
yeah.
So, gravel.
Yeah.
Describe me the safety concern.
Well, again, one was the rocks. I just didn't feel comfortable having rocks there. You know, you have kids throwing rocks and whatever. But the bigger issue was navigating, and you know, we have elderly parents as well. It literally was about this wide, and there's a palm tree, and that also had a little kind of landscaping area around it, and then the pool, and it also has a little slant. So that's when you're looking toward the backyard, that's on the left side. Then you go around the back, and again, you could navigate that, but it's rock, so you're walking on rock to get around the back parts, which is part of why we added some pavers around the rock that exists there today to get through there. And then to the palm tree on the right, it was the same kind of issue where it was landscaping in the back, and then where you could walk was a narrow area, and you're walking right next to the pool. It's just not a very wide spot, and you're trying to navigate a palm tree.
Have you spoken to any of the neighbors on either side of you?
Our neighbor, so we're in a duplex, our neighbor who is attached to us says he has no issue with the pavers in the back. Other than that, we haven't.
Is there a pool in the neighbor's yard? Do you
No.
have any neighbors?
Mm-mm. His whole front is paved, they put pavers in the front.
Can we go to some of the photographs? They're like black and white. It says from the real estate listing. Okay, that one. So what's different now from what's in this picture?
Oh, and the other thing I didn't note is, some of the pavers we replaced, I guess that's not really a concern that you guys care about, but if you see that flimsy fence, we replaced that with something that's more solid, again, a safety concern. But see that little narrow, part there right in front of the palm tree? That's the only way to come out. To the left of this picture, where that fence is the slider, that's how you come out of the house. So you would come out to this area, and then to navigate around, you have to walk on that little strip.
So you added pavers like where those shrubs are, and it looks like there was
Yes, so now
mulch or something?
you can go behind the palm tree
Okay.
and walk through without kind of, you know, running the gauntlet there and hopefully nobody falls in the pool.
You have access to both sides of your pool, is that what you're saying? You can walk around the entire pool.
Yes.
Any additional questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, hearing none, you can be seated for now, and I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards?
We have several. First one from Stuart Palmer.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Stuart Palmer, 19 9th Avenue North, Jacksonville Beach, 32250. I've lived in this neighborhood for 10 years. I've met the applicant, and I look forward to having them as a neighbor for a long time once they move into the area. I understand that an out-of-state person moving into the neighborhood might not understand the codes, but from what I understand, this part of this was because of a property management company that came in, this is hearsay, and this is a problem in the area with a lot of short-term rentals being managed by a property management company and going in and doing work prior to receiving approvals. I would like to say in this case that water from here will drain either behind the property to the neighbors, which have a garage right behind the property, or into the alley fire lane, which will then downslope. 10th Avenue North is a downslope to 2nd Street, which is a known flood area. It is a flood zone. It does flood. You can get up to 3 feet of water down there. I know, I've seen it. I have a picture of kayaking on 2nd when any significant rain comes. Also, there are a lot of other places in this neighborhood that have done paving in the yards without variances. 105 11th Avenue North, which is a new construction. They should have been aware of the variances after the construction was done and they moved in. Half of their yard got paved over. 197 11th Avenue North, which is where I used to live, was turned into a short-term rental. That entire side and backyard was paved. 199 11th Avenue North, the entire backyard was paved. And all of those also drain into 2nd, so that water's just flowing right into the lake that is in 2nd Street. Also, just to take a little dig at the City Urban Trail, if they do this on 9th Avenue North, there's a lot of grass and gravel that will be taken out and paved over with their trail. Little dig there, sorry. Anyway, I'm urging vote against this variance. I don't mind investments into properties in the area, but I think we should be investing in the neighborhood, not just a single property. Thank you.
Linda Gibson does not wish to speak, but opposes the variance request. Sorry, 115 9th Avenue North, Jacks Beach. And then we have a card from Mike. I don't have the last name, Mike.
Boyles.
And he's at 104 10th Avenue North.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Mike Boyles, 104 10th Avenue North.
Go ahead.
All right. I moved on 10th Avenue North between 1st and 2nd Street back in 2015. Back then, the single block had approximately 6 single-family homes, 9 long-term rentals, 12 months or more, and 4 short-term rentals. Now there are 4 single-family homes, 0 long-term rentals, and 15 short-term rentals. This is all relevant because we have zoning and codes for a reason. Our current city leadership that sits in the building over here, they're just shrinking our lot sizes, and all it is to appease short-term rental profits. That's all that's happening on our street over and over again, while it's destroying our neighborhoods. I've watched my local neighbors to the left and to the right of me, and me personally, take on proper steps to improve this neighborhood. I've been in front of you to get paving approved in front of my front yard, and I did it the right way. I got the right-of-way approval. I came in, I got the approval for the private property. I did all of that by going through the city and taking the proper steps. We have zoning and codes for a reason, and I feel like that a lot of these short-term rentals are taking advantage of not even following the zones, and then the city doesn't even enforce anything. And so we're stuck with everything that Stuart just listed before me. I was made aware of this construction because the neighbor next to me said that, hey, there's a ton of pavers going in the back and I'm concerned about it flooding my backyard. Should I be concerned about that? And I said, yes. That's the neighbors that's attached to him. He expressed concern to me that it was going to get flooded. I was also friends with the previous owners that they said they wanted to sell only to a single-family home, and they were promised that it was going to be a single-family home. It's now a short-term rental. That's what all this is going into, is paving the back for a short-term rental. At least that's my understanding of it. I was told by my neighbor that he called the city. The city came out and confronted the rental management company and said, hey, you can't be doing this work without a permit. They stopped the work for 2 days. What did they do? They went and finished the work 3 days later. Then another neighbor behind us called the city and said, hey, there's pavers going and it's going to flood my garage. The city enforcement department said, why do you care? You don't even live on 10th Avenue North. She said, well, my garage is behind us, and the city enforcement said, there's not much we can do, make a complaint. The city's doing nothing to control the short-term rental problem, and that's the big issue here. 80% lot coverage is absolute bonkers. The previous owners were 2 elderly people in their 70s, and they had grandkids running around this pool with the current pavers, and not once did anyone stub a toe or get hurt that I've ever known of. and I've been back there plenty. The setback is already, at the work that's been done, the setback is already broken from what's being requested. I have pictures of all of this, and so I'll submit those now. Let's see here. There's 2 copies of the pictures.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle, that is your time. But we will take a look at the photos. Any other speakers' cards or correspondence? Oh, yeah.
The package, has a letter. Yeah. Just outside of what's in the pack, outside of what's in the package, there's no more speakers cards and there's no more correspondence.
Isn't there a letter in the packet?
Yes, there is, if it's in the package. You can look through it.
Can you just summarize it?
So
Can
there-
I just go on record and say, I know that 2 other neighbors had submitted emails to the city, because they're the ones that got me involved, and so, I just want to go on record, I know there's 2 other neighbors that have.
Yeah, if they've submitted correspondence to the city, we will be reading that. Into the record.
So this is an email from Glenda and Robert, well, I guess it's not an email. It's a letter from Glenda Dillon and Robert Gray at 1040 First Avenue North. And they object to this variance request. They object to the 80% lot coverage. They note that the owners did the work without a permit. There's additional fencing that they complain about, and they mention lack of drainage and the short-term rental issue.
And then were there any additional? Were these both for
Those are for the.
the prior?
Yeah, those are for the. And here's the. This is it.
So there's nothing else that was left for us on the
No,
dice
that's
for
it.
this case? Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience who has not filled out a speaker's card who wishes to speak on this item? And if so, please fill out a card before you leave. Okay, would the applicant care to address any of the statements made during public comment?
Yes, thank you. Just of note, I understand some of the frustration with how small the lots are and what the city's approved, and short-term rentals, clearly, we're not accountable for that, right? We intend to move into this house in 2 years and live here full-time. Mike is born and bred Jacks Beach, retired military. And that's part of why we're putting the money we are into it, to make it what we want it to be. But the property manager had nothing to do with this work. That was directed by us. We do have a property manager. They had nothing to do with the pavers, and that is hearsay, as the person noted. I will note the one person who's opposed to this at 1040 First Street is the one who has 100% paved backyard. So I find that kind of ironic that they have an issue with it. And the last point I'll make is with respect to the flooding. I could understand the concern if we were going from a grass backyard and we were adding all of these pavers in. As you can see from the photos and the document I drew up, it's mostly pavered now. So if there was going to be an issue with that, it would be pre-existing. We added a very de minimis amount of pavers relative to what was existing. So I think it's important to call out. I could see that argument, the theoretical argument that it's going to cause flooding and lack of drainage, but the reality is, majority of those pavers are there today.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions of the applicant?
Sorry. So you're in front of us because of you noted by the city of this without a permit, is that correct?
Yes.
And was testified today that you were notified by a inspector to stop, was that true?
I'm not aware of that for the pavers. We were doing some stone on the side, and then we actually spoke to somebody in the planning department. I apologize, I don't have her name. She actually came and looked at it and approved the stone. I don't know that they said stop doing the pavers. But when this came up, I will note, it was pretty much installed at that point when we found out there was an issue.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, you can be seated. I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 23-100-123 based on the testimony and evidence provided. The request has met all the standards for a variance as outlined in section 34-286 of the Land Development Code.
Second for conversation.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I struggle supporting this. I think there's other solutions instead of pavers, and we've approved and seen other pool applications with other solutions than pavers. Past history. Initial.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously were, you know, this is a huge pool for that size backyard, at least just looking at the photos. And that wasn't the fault of the applicant, but I don't know that pavering every surface of the backyard, is a reasonable reaction to the size of the pool that was pre-existing.
Just for the record, so that we reflect the fact that we're not considering the safety issues that exist, because they're not in our factors. And that there is a special condition and circumstance, which is a undersized lot, but I can't get past number 2, which is special circumstances and conditions do not result from the actions of the applicant. Here they have, they're already approved for increased lot coverage of 46%, and then they added additional pavers. So that's the issue that I'm stuck on.
I would also mention, because we do hear these comments from neighbors a lot in certain parts of town, but whether the property is going to be used for short-term rental or not is not really the purview of this board. If we can't factor that into our decision, because any decisions that are made will carry in perpetuity on the property, no matter what purpose it's being used for, rent, short-term, long-term. But I do understand that there were, you know, looking at the drawing, that there were a lot of pavers already installed that maybe weren't reflected in that, you know, 42 plus 8%. You know, I highly doubt that just the blue pavers, that the blue X's that they've marked here account for an additional 30% of lot coverage. So I do think they inherited the property with some additional pavers already in there. But again, that if the proper protocol had been followed, then they would have been aware of what their, you know, lot coverage was already sitting at. And again, I don't think that paving basically all the space in the backyard is the proper remedy for the size of the pool and the size of the backyard. Any additional discussion? Okay, hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Todd Smith,
No.
John Mullen,
No.
Owen Curley,
No.
Jeff Truar,
No.
Alexi Gonzalez.
No. The request has been denied. Okay, moving on to the planning department report.
The next scheduled meeting will be January 2nd, and there's 6 cases. Six cases. And on January 10th, at 5:30, we'll have the collaboration meeting with our consultants on the new comp plan.
Do you know after the January 10th workshop what the next step is? Has it been before council yet?
No. Right now, I think they're doing workshops, I believe, in March. They'll take it to council. right now, just showing the boards what they came up with.
That's at 6 o'clock?
5:30. I believe we'll send out invites on Thursday after we meet with them.
We'll miss the next meeting.
The 6 case meeting, how convenient. Sorry, do you know, are those all new business?
Yes, our new business.
Okay, anything else? And if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?